Well, last week, last week on Karuna, right? We're doing these a month at a time. Another week on Karuna. Yeah, another week on compassion. And we've been spending a lot of time, especially the last couple of weeks, more on inner compassion, the struggles that we have with that, the challenges of that. It's it sounds simple enough, but not easy. You know, why? Why? Because there have been a long-standing pattern of not generating self-compassion toward ourselves. We haven't practiced that much for a variety of reasons. For a variety of reasons, right? But today I'd like to speak about compassion externally, and in particular, of course, we want to be compassionate and radiate compassion to the whole world. We know Rome is burning, and compassion to the earth, compassion to all people who are suffering, and so on. It's just, and for myself, in order to take hold more of compassion externally, it's good for me to locate it somewhere, somewhere. It could be with a homeless person. It could be with uh, someone I know who is suffering. One I'd like to address today is compassion for our ancestors. We all have them. We didn't fall off a tree. Yeah, we all have them. And uh, obviously, we know some of them we hear stories about. We are all part of a lineage. Uh, Somehow it seems to us in the last 30, 40 years, we've lost touch more with all of that, with the deeper sense of lineage. I mean, we're all different with that one. Maybe your family is different than mine. I know very little, even about my grandparents, even about my grandmother, who was I was so close to. There wasn't a sense of telling stories, or we didn't. It just wasn't part of what got generated in my family. Yeah. In any case, however that was for you, there are so many people responsible for our being here now. And there's so much back there, right? And we know some of it, some of it was, and some of the history was, there had to be love there. There had to be generosity there. There had to be resilience there. There had to be kindness there. But that's not all that was there. There was some rough energy there too, right? There may be stories of addiction, some rough energy, maybe even violence, uh, maybe neglect, maybe abandonment, maybe abuse. There's some rough energies in there, right? There's rough energies in there. Hmm. What does it mean to send compassion to our ancestors, especially the ones who are not even any longer here? And yet we are inheriting some part, we're part of that lineage. Sometimes we want to think we're not part of that lineage. No, that's not me. I'm not going to be at all like my mother. People who say I'm not going to be at all like my mother probably have a couple of qualities that we got from our mothers. I can speak for myself, that's true. We are part of that lineage. Part of it is just coming to terms with that, wow, right, of course. And there had to be some blessings there, or I wouldn't be here now. Part of what I contemplate is that isn't it true that all beings want to be happy? That's not just a nice platitude, a Buddhist platitude thing. We all want, we do, all beings want to be safe, want to be held, want to be happy, want to be comfortable, want to live forever. Well, want to be free from illness. Right? And boy, am I clear that most of my ancestors did not have the causes and conditions that I have. Boy, was it rougher. Boy, was it rougher back there. I had no clue how hard it must have been to work so hard and love so hard and survive and keep on, right? It's just that simple contemplation. They did not have the tools that we have. They didn't have this. They didn't have Sangha like this. Inner compassion? What the hell? Did they know? What? Did they have access to anything like that? Did they have time for that? Did they have room for any of that? And yet they continued on. They continued on. I'll wrap it to myself just like that, like, oh man, how amazing that they carried on sometimes. How amazing that my grandmother said to me more than once, if you don't have something nice to say about someone, don't say anything at all. And I never heard her say one ill word about anyone else in my whole life with her. And she lived with us for 10 years until she died. I never heard her say one ill word about another person. Are you kidding me? And I know she had a rough upbringing and a rough husband. Wow. Just sometimes it's like, wow, of course, of course. When I think, of course, I just want to think, yeah, it's not just, okay, they're no longer here. What does this mean to send compassion to people who are no longer here? It's really about softening the echoes of all of that through time, through in the way that in, in the way that we can do that by bringing all of this to mind. And how do we honor that? How do we move forward with that lineage now that we have more tools? How can we take, are we not taking some kind of intergenerational step here? Most of us, are we not intending to do that? To bring more, to bring more of the good? To bring more of our hearts? Not perfectly. We've also inherited some rough stuff evolutionarily and in our family tree as well, some rough stuff. Oh, I've still got that. That's been passed down generationally too. Okay. Well, for how long am I going to be angry about that and disappointed about that? And and when am I going to go? Okay, okay, okay. Those that they had their causes and conditions. I did not have those causes and conditions. If I had those causes and conditions, I would be behaving quite similarly. Yeah, I have different causes and conditions, and partly it's because of them. Somehow they seeded something into the future. Sometimes they did want something more. They did want something more for us, didn't they? Wasn't that at least part of their intention? And hasn't part of that intention come true now? Or we would be somewhere else on some other side of the tracks. We wouldn't be sitting here today. So compassion for our ancestors who worked so hard and loved as hard as they could, given their causes and conditions. Yeah. Hmm. Karuna for our ancestors, those in the deep past and those who are still with us. Yeah. Yeah. So let's meditate a little together. Okay. Open up a little bit. Oh,
I ah,
and when you're ready, slowing it down, lightly closing the eyes, and feeling the breath move through the body. I'm beginning to settle and beginning to soften. And to your degree in this meditation, if it feels right to you, practicing Karuna toward your lineage, maybe one person in particular, maybe it's a little Rolodex of moving through a couple of people. However you do that, how would you do that? How would you reflect, visualize, imagine with an orientation toward Karuna? And maybe there are words along the way. Mine are whatever was good in you, whatever goodness you intended to bring forward, please know they are continuing to ripple. They are rippling in me. And I am bringing those forward into this world as best I can. And whatever was difficult, I've also inherited part of that. And I have the opportunity here to work with that, to not act that out in the way that you did. I have the tools to minister to that. You are not forgotten. You live in me and through me. in the last few minutes of the meditation. Softening. Thank you, everybody.